Hi, welcome to Chart, where we chat about art. Glad that you're back. If you're new, hello, we are so happy that you're here. This week we are discussing our experience doing a Masters in Contemporary Art at Sotheby's Institute in London, and if it was worth it or not. Hoping that we can help you out if you're doubting whether or not you should do a Masters. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram and YouTube at Chart Podcasts. The link to all of our socials are in the show notes below. And leave a comment on one of our posts. We would love to know your thoughts. Without further ado, let's jump into today's episode. Let's roll.
Hi guys.
Hello.
Buenos dias.
Hello.
As you can tell, I have changed my location
Again?
Yes.
again, but I will return to my bed very soon.
Anyway, favorite horror films?
Thank you so much.
Oh, wait.
for listening to that.
Welcome to Chart, where we chat about
Yes.
art.
Hi.
Hi.
So
No,
Yeah.
today we're going to be talking about, or we'll be answering your questions which you haven't posed.
But we
So
think
you
we know
want-
your questions.
So you want to do a master's? Why?
why?
What is it? How? What's a thesis or a dissertation? Question mark. Not sure. We've just finished our masters. We are no longer course friends. We are now podcast friends.
Ugh.
We have upgraded.
Yeah, we're not friends because none of us
Like each other.
like each other, but we try and make it work for this podcast.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Um,
Really. Everything is going into lockdown, so why not?
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's just better in terms of for our mental health to think we have friends and feel less.
And to think that this is a job for us, so we don't feel as unemployed.
Yeah. So thank you so much for supporting our dream, and for the people.
Our self-esteem depends on you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
our self-esteem depends on it. And with the people who are really nice and leave comments and answer our Instagram story. I love you.
Yes. You're the real MVP.
Yeah. Yeah, but today our question of the week.
What is your most recent favorite horror film?
Happy
Yeah.
Halloween, by the way.
So who wants to start and talk about their most recent favorite horror movie? I think Christy and Javier are gonna have loads to say.
Yeah, and I don't, so
I don't. So please
No?
start.
please go on.
Well, now I want to hear you two first because I'm really curious. What?
I'm gonna okay, so basically I won't watch horror films. Like I've only watched the Paranormal Activities and that was enough for me. But I did once watch the trailer for Human Centipede. And that was in 2010 when I watched it, and I was so
That old.
horrified by the concept of three people being linked together surgically that it totally freaked me out, and I had nightmares about it for 3 weeks afterwards. Yeah, that's kind of my relationship with horror. I am too anxious of a person to start watching horror films, and I don't find them enjoyable, but I understand why people like that, adrenaline. Yeah, that's it. That's all that. But I love watching about murderers and cults. I like watching those things where I know it's actually happened, but I don't like gore.
What about Midsommar?
I think I could watch it, but I think I'd be anxious as well.
I think you would. It is very claustrophobic, I guess.
Yeah,
Because it really gets your nerves. That
it's a bit stressful.
Yeah,
stressful.
that's not for me.
But it's about cult, and there's only 2 scenes of gore, I think.
Nah, I wouldn't call them gore. It's not.
Just slightly.
Yeah,
Just some blood splatter.
Well, it's not the blood and it's not the grossness of it. I don't mind those things, but it's just I just don't like those movies because I'm obviously everyone's gonna die except for probably one person.
Nah,
and
but you're
I
not
want
like. It's not a slasher kind of movie where
no,
the plot is.
I mean
where
I
people
just
kill.
mean generally.
Yeah. No, but I
Because
think you check out Midsummer if you
Yeah.
like that stuff.
If you like cult.
No, but I won't just because you've said the word stressful.
Okay,
I can't
fine.
watch stressful.
No, I lied. It's a very happy movie.
Okay.
It's
like
a
Midsummer.
it's a love story.
It's like
okay.
Midsummer's Night Dream.
Is it like a rom-com?
Yes, it's a Swedish rom-com. That's
Oh,
what they.
amazing.
Yes,
Yeah, that sounds so cute.
in
Okay.
Sweden, that's what they. Yeah,
That's what they do
Yeah.
to melt a woman's heart.
yeah.
Finn, what about you? What's your most recent favorite horror movie?
I don't really like horror movies. They don't get to me. And especially those slasher ones, I really just cannot finish it to the end. Not because I think it's gruesome to see, but it just doesn't. I can't get sucked into the story. I do really like psychological horror inspired. So I mean, The Shining is one of my favorites. I recently
Of course.
finished the Haunting of Bly Manor, and I really enjoyed that one. It's not really a horror
It's not
Nah,
at
especially
all.
by the end. By the end, I was like, "What the fuck?"
By the end, I was like, oh,
splendidly perfect.
yeah,
It's
perfect.
splendidly perfect.
Perfect.
No, it's perfectly splendid.
Oh, is that what?
I think it.
Yeah,
I
perfect.
think she
Perfectly
switches.
splendid.
She switches sometimes.
But I mean, yeah, I do like to read horror, um, but not Stephen King. I mean,
Yeah.
but there is one book by Nick Cutter. It's called The Troop. My God, that's
The troop. I need to write that down.
it's about the Boy Scouts going out for a weekend on an island.
Right.
Oh my God, it's so gruesome and disgusting, and it really, I think,
Hits close to home, right?
yeah. It's about this virus or this disease that suddenly um, is among the kids, and I can't really. It's so gruesome, and it's when you're reading it, you just want to stop constantly because it's so gross and it's so. Ugh.
But
But
you're like,
you want to
yes.
continue.
I love it already.
You want to continue because it just doesn't stop. It really
Yeah.
there's no. It just stops when the book ends.
Okay.
So yeah, that I like. And Shirley Jackson, who's a pretty famous writer who wrote *The Haunting of Hill House*, and um, there's another one. Can't get the name.
The it's the one with it's the one where they have this like sleep experiment who's actually people trying to find a ghost. Yeah, there's a very shitty movie
Yeah,
about that
reading
book.
Good book.
*Animal Cemetery*, and it just no. I'm really not a fan of Stephen King. I'm sorry, but yeah,
I hate Stephen King so
Well,
much.
I think I don't know anything about him, but I know that you can't say that.
I think the thing is that he's a very good writer in the like his prose is very good and he has very good ideas and he presents them very well, but the ending of all of his books is utter shit.
I
Like he
think
doesn't know how to end stories. He just
But did
doesn't.
they change it in the movies, maybe, or no?
I mean, to be fair, the only good movie ever made about a Stephen King book is The Shining, and that's because Stanley Kubrick completely changed the script.
Which one's that? Because I've definitely not seen it, and I don't plan to.
Here's Johnny.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
It's okay.
it's okay. Please watch it.
Well,
Yeah.
they're obviously not going to hang out and have like a movie night
It's
because
a thriller, so it's
We
not
could do
really.
an online
oh,
movie night with commentary.
Yeah.
can we watch something trashy?
No.
No,
'Cause I just would love to know what.
We're only gonna watch art house here.
I just want to know what someone like Javier would think of like Legally Blonde and Legally Blonde 2.
I do like.
I love that movie.
It's great
I
though.
love movies.
I haven't watched those.
But I
but I-
feel like you're missing out loads
It's great. It's great.
because
It's,
everyone loves it.
Well, I'm sorry.
it's
Tough life.
Well, I'm sorry that you haven't watched it yet. So
Perfectly
what about you
splendid.
guys?
Fuck.
But it's on to the two fans of the genre.
Yeah, the actual fans.
Tough question.
Well, yesterday I watched this movie called His House.
Best
Okay.
house.
His.
The best
Like-
house.
His house. It's on Netflix, and it's kind of about people, like some refugees from Africa came to the UK, to London, and has brought their witch, or like witchy things with them, and
Okay.
like unintentionally, and yeah, it's a really interesting take on it, and visually is really interesting. Like a lot of it you haven't really, you would, yeah, for me it's like, oh, I've never actually seen this in like a horror film, and I think it's really well done, and it's really fun to watch.
Okay.
Sounds
Yeah.
okay.
His House, yeah, give it a go.
Noted.
I'll write it down. I went downstairs, told my brother, like, I don't know what I just watched. And
You
then
watched it by yourself?
just give me a few months to figure it out. And now I liked it, but I'm not sure if I would watch it again.
Okay.
One of those movies where I'm like,
It's same for me. I haven't watched it again because I'm afraid that if I do, I will not like it as much
Yeah.
as I did. Because like Mother is a movie that if the first time you watch it, you're like, what the fuck did I just watch? And then when you think about it, you're like, oh, it's about this.
mhm,
So the thing is, I'm afraid that if I watch it again, knowing what it's about, it won't have the same effect.
same. So
It's a very good recommendation as well.
Yeah. The
So
Ring is also great.
tune in for next week to find out Javier's favorite rom-com. Okay, guys, so let's try and answer the question.
the other
And
scary.
I
Yes.
think it's best to start with like, why did you choose to do a master's?
I was unemployed.
You're unemployed.
Still are.
I still am. So it wasn't worth it.
So you did a panic master's.
No, it was more about I was kind of tired of studying after I finished my BA. So I was just like, I want to work. I just want a job, but I couldn't really find anything. And this was in a pre-COVID era. So back then, I guess the feeling that most people I spoke with, transmitted me was like you need a master's to really be like appreciated in the art world and for the kind of job you're looking for. So I spoke to a few people, like a professor in an art school and stuff like that, and they all told me, well, Sotheby's is the place you need to go, but they probably won't get you. And well,
Oh, that's rude.
A little bit.
they weren't saying it. They weren't saying it like you're not gonna make it. They were more like, it's very hard to get in, and it's like a very long shot. It is. Apparently, it isn't.
Where the proof that's really
Yeah.
Yeah, like if we did it, anyone can.
Everyone can do it.
Yeah, so that's why I went to my idea. Actually, one of the questions that I asked the professor Pierre, the professor who interviewed me, was, okay, am I gonna get a job after this? And he was like, well, most of our students have. And back then I was like, that's good enough.
Fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough. Then
Well,
COVID happened,
Like,
and
never mind.
yeah, never mind.
Also, we have done an episode on, I think it's when we introduce ourselves
Yeah.
and we
Yep.
say like what we studied and all of that. So if you're interested to know what we studied, how we got into an art master's, whatever, if you watch the episode where we have a guest called Lorna Tiller, or we probably mentioned it in an earlier episode where we sort of introduce ourselves, yeah, you can find out how we got here, unemployed.
Still.
Listen to the first episode. Personally, I always knew I would do a master's after my BA, like straight after. I knew when I thought about going to university, I'd end up doing a master's anyway, because I thought like if I want to go job, I want to do a master's, and I don't mind studying, so that works for me. Like everyone else on this podcast, we were all surprised that we got into the masters that we got into. We all like had imposter syndrome, and we're like, why are we here and how? Still unsure. I think it was a mistake. We did do it. That was my only motivation. I was like, I just want to like have a well-rounded education to be able to get a job. Obviously, I didn't know what would happen, but now I have a well-rounded education, but no job.
I knew I always wanted to try to do an MA, because in high school I was just terrible at maths and sciences, and all my teachers said, "Yeah, you're never going to be able to go further into academics."
What?
Every year they would say
Again,
that to
who
me.
are these rude people speaking to you?
Yeah, and then
What the
and I was
hell?
just like, "No, fuck off! I can do this, but not in economics. It's fine. I don't want to
Like
in
at
economics."
like 12, you were like, "Fuck off! I'm doing
I like how they were like, "Oh, so you're good at my subject. You clearly are not fit to work in anything."
That was
Yeah.
the case every time. Like sciences, maths, I just can't do it.
Yeah.
So they were like, "Yeah, you're never gonna make it in the general academic world. So don't try. Just go do something technical with your hands, like become a baker or something."
Become a baker.
What era is this?
Go
All
into a
random.
bookshop or something. I don't.
Become a carpenter. What is
I-
this?
Yeah, and then I did a practice-based MA, and I was like, okay, that was fun, but I still really want to try to do. I missed some theoretical background from my art degree, so I thought, like, and I always wanted to study abroad in London. That was my childhood dream. So I thought, okay, let's try to kill two birds in one stone.
Fair enough.
Chrissy, tell us your truth.
Yeah.
Did you get told you weren't good enough and then
I just want to stay in London.
Yeah, fair enough.
okay.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, so I was like, okay, well, this, and I didn't get into this other thing that I wanted to do, which was free in London, which is really rare. So I was like, okay, I guess I have to pay for it. So here I go.
Okay, well, love that we all had different reasons.
I see London as a common denominator. Like all of us. Well, I haven't mentioned it, but London was also a big thing about why I chose Sotheby's. I just thought it was unreal to be in London.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those places you go as a kid, like, but that's it. And you see movies, but then you're like, oh wow, I'm staying in London.
Yeah,
It's like New York or something like that.
but
You
for
were
I always
shit though.
yeah, I
But
never really got interested in going to the Sotheby's New York campus because it's like,
nah, I think New York would be horrible to live in, but it's one of those classic cities, you know.
I guess it's kind of like, oh, when you start studying in Paris, you're like, oh my god,
Yeah, stuff like that.
do I just eat croissants and drink coffee every day?
Baguette, yeah.
Oh, and find my own true baguette.
Omelette du fromage.
And
What?
then just say, voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir all the time?
That's so much French.
Okay, that's it.
Rouge every week. Yeah.
Yeah, every
I-
week say it to random people.
I wanted to stay in London because I'd done like 4 years of studying in London
Yeah.
and I didn't want to leave my family. So, and also my friends are here. So I was just, I'm not going to go anywhere. Like also it's just like if you're from London and you're like, oh, well, this is an amazing place to be for the arts.
Yeah.
There's no
I
place
I don't want to go to New York. I think for some reason I'd find it really isolating. And there's Americans there. And then also the
Quite a lot.
problem with Paris
Yeah,
and with
that's a problem.
my problem with Paris and with France generally is that French
French
people
people.
live there.
Brunch.
So I've just got rid of like
All
a
of our
bunch
French,
of listeners.
all of our French listeners are gonna tune out
They're
now.
like,
I actually
bye.
don't mind Americans at all. I have family in America, but the French is a personally an issue.
Problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm good at like alone, like isolated. Like I can make friends, but
Yeah, exactly.
I knew my friends were already in London, so I was like, I'm not leaving. Goodbye.
The downside now really for me is that I've spent a year away and my friends here have kind of moved on. It's not a sad thing. Like we all kind of developed ourselves
Yeah.
and chose different ways. So now it's kind of not. I don't have many friends here at the moment.
But that's gonna eventually happen though, like when
Yeah.
you know, move on with life and no longer study all
So,
together all the time.
I'm fine with that. It's
Yeah.
been nice that I took time for myself to develop, and then I'm now able to say, this friendship maybe doesn't work that well anymore as it used to.
I've actually found that this year. Like, if someone totally unrelated to like moving, and that's why, But I found as I've grown up, I've been like, you know what? This person doesn't do the same amount as I would do for them. I don't want to be friends with them anymore. Like, there's just no point in keeping them around just for the sake of like having more friends. And then this year, like a couple of people, like I feel like kind of opened my eyes to like, oh my god, like I would have done this for them. They won't do that for me, and it'll be like quite big things, and I'll be like, I don't need them. Like I just don't need randomers in my life who are not going to do the same as I do for them. But I think that's just like as you grow up, you're like, well, what's the point in spending time with people who you either drifted away from or
just with people in general.
People just
What's
because of
what's the
people.
point?
Yeah, what's the fine boy?
Yeah, what's the point?
You
We've
feel
got each
to-
other anyway.
We've
Just
met
to-
each other now.
just-
You know, met each other as I even thanked you in my acknowledgements of my dissertation.
What?
Oh,
Finn, are you joking? Can you send us a picture?
Well, not with the name, but I thanked the for the amazing opportunity which led to me meeting so many incredible people that are now considered good friends.
Oh my god,
Oh,
I'm gonna cry.
we are so many. 3 people.
We're so many.
Is
Yes.
plenty.
yeah.
3 or 4.
3 is good, no?
Yeah,
It's the
it's
whole
great.
community stuff.
Oh my god, that's so cute. It's not quantity, it's quality.
Yeah.
I can send you a picture for proof, but I actually thanked you.
I believe you, Finn.
We believe you too.
Just to bring a different perspective on the whole moving on with your life thing. If you're scared of not doing a master's abroad because you think you're gonna lose friends, I studied abroad, so I was in a different country for 4 years, and I still keep my friends. So it's about the people.
Yeah.
There's
I mean,
I
I
think sometimes like you don't see people for ages and then you see each other, you're like, I
Wow.
know we're friends.
Well, I mean, there's other ways to keep touch. Like, for example, what I do with my friends, we do a lot of online gaming together, and we like meet in Discord and stuff like that to talk and do stuff. So it's pretty much like I haven't left. Like, there's times when I'm with talking to them, and I'm like, it's like they're in the same country as I am. So don't like don't
Yeah, don't be scared to
not do a master's because you're afraid of these kind of things. Because if there's will on both sides, you will keep in touch and you will still be friends.
and it's okay to you lose
them.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's life.
It's absolutely fine.
So
Yeah.
it shouldn't prohibit you from, doing that thing that you always wanted to do, move abroad or study abroad or do a master's or whatever.
Yeah.
Or even just move to another city. It's fine.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
meet people.
We personally did not have any exams.
Yeah.
Which I think is the best. That's the
best.
reason why this was the best academic year of my life.
Yes.
That was the best.
And I'm not. I don't mean it like joking about. Oh, I'm so lazy. I didn't have to do exams. I think I learned more in this format than with exams, because I remember things that I had to study for exams in my uni, like the 3 laws of whoever, the 3 aspects of economic, blah blah blah. blah. No fucking clue about any of that anymore.
Yeah.
However, you get us in a room where we are talking about fucking panopticon, we make a meme, and now it's stuck in me forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, never forget it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't find I've actually never minded taking exams, but it's the having no life before studying. You have it in your brain, and the moment the exam's finished, I walk out the room and I'm like, I don't need to, that information, I've thrown it away now. Like, I don't remember it. And if you had given me the exam like a week later, I wouldn't know like what it's about.
Yeah.
I don't think it's helpful for anyone. I think what was nice this year was that we were able to write about the things that interested us, and then because you're writing and you're spending so much time on it, you're learning so much, and it's what interests you, so you're there like, I want to remember this information.
Yeah, basically.
So it was for hours, it was just essay writing the entire year, and at the in February our masters was September to September. Originally, we had a month extra because of COVID. And in February, we gave in our first proposal as to what it is that our dissertation could be. To be honest, it looks not much like what it ended up being. I think I just needed to put something down on paper and give it in and then work on it at a later date, because I wasn't thinking about what the dissertation is going to be whilst I'm writing like 2 other essays.
Yeah.
Oh no,
Right.
from the moment the course started, I knew what my dissertation was going to be about, and I was so excited that I could devote that big of a project to that artist.
Yeah.
So I from the moment, that was like the easiest step for me, like figuring out what I wanted to do. So
Nice.
there you go.
That's good.
Did the course though change like what you ended up writing or how you ended up writing it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I just had like a vague idea. It's like, okay, I want to write about Gregory Crutzen, and I want to figure out why he mesmerizes me so much, but I didn't really have an idea how to structure it or what to use or how to approach it. That occurred to me throughout the year, talking to my tutor and having all the lectures and going to see different exhibitions. It slowly grew, which is a good thing. That's what the master should do. Yeah. And I'm happy with the end result. I don't know if Mike is going to be happy with the end result, but we'll see.
Mike is a supervisor.
If only, yeah.
Yeah.
I also think one of the biggest differences with an undergrad is the relationship that you have with your tutors, but also with the other people on the course. Because when I was doing my undergrad and they were saying like, oh, because I was at UCL and they said you could continue doing it at UCL, like we have a history of art thing, and people who do the BA are more likely to get into the MA. So I was like, oh, that sounds great. And the way they were selling it to us was like the lecturer would talk about it like, oh, we're going on a trip, to Vienna together. Like it's going to be so nice. Like I love my class and, we're so small and we'll go out for a beer. And I was just like, love that. Because I did not, my lecturers could not have picked me out of a lineup of one.
Yeah.
They did not know who I was.
Like undergrad is relatively impersonal if it's like a big class.
Yeah.
Obviously with art school it's different, everyone, but with masters, like you can really see the difference in terms of they are really your friend in a way, in a strange way. You just speak a lot more. There's a lot more contact hours. They treat you like adults. You're no longer, like a fresh 18-year-old who just want to get fucked up.
I didn't feel stressed to say.
Some of us, at least.
Yeah, some of us.
Yeah. Wow.
I think as well, the wanting to like know more and like find out more is a lot less stress to be like, I don't know what this means. I mean, I hate putting my hand up in a class, but I loved being able afterwards to be like, can someone explain this to me? And they genuinely took the time to help you out, and to not just be like, I can't help you with this essay because you're writing it and I can't be of any help. They were like, tell me like a general idea, like let me help you, forge like a better, argument, or here are a couple of ideas you could mention into it. It was like genuinely wanting to help you.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I felt it wasn't the case. But the thing about like the classes being big and them not knowing you, like when I was on the MA, I went on a date with a guy who was like, where did you graduate from? Because we knew we'd both done history of art. I said, I just graduated from UCL. And he was like, oh, me too. And I said, in history of art? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, I've never seen you before. And he was like, no, I've never seen you before. And I was like, what the fuck? I've been on a date with a guy who I've probably walked past and maybe even sat next to like for 3 years. And I do not know who this guy is. Like I had never seen him before.
Yeah. Happens.
That's a romantic story though.
No, it didn't work out. I left the date because it was boring.
I think one of the differences for me from a BA and an MA is that you have to be a lot more proactive. Because in a BA, for me, all the tools you need are there, and they make you aware that they are there. But with the MA, both the ones that I've done, it's okay. You have for the essays, you have 3 topics, and we'll discuss these topics somewhere in the semester. But other than that, it's kind of on your own to figure out a direction of your essay, to figure out how you want to approach it. And also, I noticed that I felt that they gave us so much waiting time.
Mm.
And I don't like in between lectures, it would be an hour and a half. Lunch would
Yeah.
be 2 hours and a half. And I think it was to stimulate you to maybe go to the library or do your own, to do your research, to do your work. But you really had to be proactive about it. Also, when you wanted help, I'm not really a person to ask help that much because I'm like, I want to figure it out first if I can do it on my own. And if I can't, then I'll ask my tutor to help me. So it's really, an MA, you do it for yourself. I think that's the big giveaway. The only reason you should do it if it's really something that you want to do,
Yeah.
you want to gain knowledge, and if you want to learn how to, create your own thinking, create your own argument. Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote a lot better this year because I wanted to learn how to write better. And when they would give us feedback, I was like really taking that seriously and then using it in the next essay. Whereas undergrad, I was like,
Whatever.
there was like 2 notes and they'd be like not very helpful, but like, you know, like usually it would be like, why is this, what kind of fucking punctuation are you using? Or like you write like you're talking, which I've had that my whole life. People be like, you write like you're talking.
Oh, I do that too.
Yeah, it's just like I don't even know how you don't do that. But this year they were like, maybe try getting another person to read it after you written it. And I would hate that because I'd be like, oh, I really don't want someone to read it because I always gave it to my parents to read, but I'd be like I just don't like the fact that I can't just manage it on my own. But it's just like, fine, it's too late now, it's ingrained into me. But it was, as Finn said, like it was a lot more like you doing the work yourself but getting help whilst you're doing it rather than being told what the work is,
Yeah.
doing it, not getting much help.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
I compare it to my BA in visual arts, every assignment was so clear what we had to do. Every project that we had to make, it was in a genre of photography, or it had to be 12 pictures. It had to be this setup. It had to be, you had to make something that was not exhibited on the wall. So it was always very, very clear. And then in this MA as well, it's like, okay, you just have 3 topics.
Choose whatever.
Do whatever you want to do with it. Use whatever artist you want. It just has to be within 68 to now.
Yeah, and still that gave like created some problems for some people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Some people just, I don't think their ears work, but anyway.
It's insane how you can tell someone, okay, you have to pick an artist from 1968 onwards, and someone asks, "Can I pick one from 1966?" And you're like,
Oh, but okay.
"Yeah."
Also, what do you guys think in terms of like how much, maybe like the workload, but also how much free time you got? Like not free time to do work, but free time where you felt like this is my time
Life.
to do what I want to do. This is my life,
Mm,
or
I
like
think
social life, that kind of thing.
I think that Sotheby's was the hardest year since I left high school, honestly. Because in my BA, there were some courses that I didn't really go to until the day of the exam, but just the small ones. Like I don't know, I had a one that was like history of cinema, and I was like, I refuse to go on a lecture about this. I just studied for it like 2 weeks before the exam, and I got a good grade, so no need to go to the lecture. But in Sotheby's, you get a lot of like they're very onto you to go to lectures, go to visits, go to workshops, go to wherever. And if you're not used to that sort of schedule, it can be a bit stressful at the beginning. but then you realize it's very well balanced. Like I really felt like I didn't feel like I would get home and be so tired I couldn't do anything, or I didn't feel like I'm being like overflown with work, or I would nah. I was the right balance.
They're very well structured in
Yeah.
terms of, even though if the lecture was said to be like 2-3 hours long, they give you breaks in between so you can actually like, rest a little bit and then get back to it. And that I think is some masters or some schools they don't do, which I really appreciate in Sotheby's. Again, like from graduating from art school where there's zero structure,
Yeah.
for me coming into that, I was like, shit. But it didn't take long to kind of get used to it, and yeah, you just need like just like 2 weeks to get used to it, and then it's like it's really normal, and again, very well balanced. And it might seem really daunting at first when they tell you all the stuff that we're doing, but then really it's really like manageable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a functioning human being, it is okay.
I mean, not all MAs are the same. I mean, my
Yeah.
previous one, I had one contact meeting a month, and that was it.
Jesus.
So I had to go to school once a month and kind of show my progress to my classmates and to all the professors.
Mm.
And we would, just one day of never-ending presentations, and then that was it for another month. But now I had to get used to being in class for 4 days, sometimes 5 days. But you get used to it very easily after
Yeah.
like a week or 2, 3. After navigating the art world was done, that one was a bit stressful for me.
That was so long.
That was our
Yeah.
first term.
Yeah.
That-
No, not the whole first term, just the first 5 weeks. It was a bit
Yeah.
painful. But then
Well,
after that,
I mean-
afterwards, it was all good.
I think another big thing, obviously, when you do a master's, is you write what I've always told is a thesis, but we kept referring to it as a dissertation. And now
For no reason, it's a
I just
thesis.
think a thesis sounds like you've got your life together. I've
Yeah.
already done a dissertation at undergrad.
But I
Well-
do call it a thesis to my family and to people that are not in Sotheby's, because I'm like, well, this is a thesis. This is not a dissertation.
Yeah. I
But-
don't know why they called it that.
What's a dissertation? What's the definition of it?
I think a thesis is literally for a master's. Like you write a thesis when you do a master's. So,
Oh,
Well, they called it thesis in my undergrad. So
okay, maybe, okay.
I think it's just like cultural thing.
Anyway,
they just find a name that makes it sound important.
yeah.
And that's it.
Well, we started it, as I said, in February. We gave it a proposal. It was a bit messy, personally, mine. I wasn't surprised when they gave it back and they were like, what? And I was like, I didn't really have a time. Or I wasn't there mentally to start this thing. And
Right.
I hate working in parts. So like I need to fully devote myself to one thing. I cannot do like 2 essays at the same time. Like one has to be finished before I start the other. So I hate just like in the middle of you're doing something, having to work on something different. I know that's not how life works and you have to do things at the same time, but like pisses me off.
No, but then also for context, we were also, still having lectures.
Yeah.
We weren't supposed to start writing it until like June.
I think
May,
when the
May.
course finished mid-May, I took 1 month off
Yeah.
to have a minute because
Chill
I
out.
think it was, and also I think once you finish the courses, you're like, oh, like we're done, like we don't need to do this. Like, it was really nice and I loved it, but you're like, okay, it's done now. And then you're like, you take a few days off and then a few days turns in a few weeks. And then you're like, you've taken a month off. And that only then did I start seriously considering what it was I wanted to write about. And we had meetings with our supervisor because we got in my undergrad we had to email lecturers and ask them if they could be our supervisor, whereas here they just gave you one. So when I was on my undergrad and they were like, you have to email people and ask if they have they had a list of like 10 people they could take on. And I thought like, oh, I'm emailing with loads of time in advance to like, you know, the people I want who specialize in what I'm writing about, you know, this is great. And then I was emailing and they kept being like, no, it's full. So people were literally emailing in summer about a dissertation we were only going to be starting like 6 months later. So that was stressful. This time they gave us one, and it wasn't really about like, I don't think it was based on what you were going to write about.
It was.
How did you guys start your topics? Like, how did you start thinking like, this is what I'm going to do? I know, we know that Finn knew like from age 2 what he was going to write about.
Basically.
How did you guys get to it?
I mean, because I write, and I've always had I never quite thought that writers were artists, in the sense that they never are mentioned as, you know, I was always interested in that, how, to what extent literature was present in the contemporary art scene. And because I write, I was like, this might be a good thesis topic. So I started with that and tried to make sense of it, because all of my teachers were like, so I want to talk about literature in the art world. And they're like, good, how? I was like, I'll find out. I didn't find out. I changed my topic.
I should point out.
No, I didn't, because the thing is that there's like, I couldn't find a proper theme to explore, you know, because it was very difficult to define what I was considering literature, what the artist was considering literature, because I would find, I don't know, there's an artist whose name I can't even remember, who did this thing where he put a typewriter in a room and there were no letters. It was just symbols like comma, full stop, whatever. And people would just like type whatever they fancied like with those symbols. And every time a page was filled, he would put it out and hang it from the wall. So the idea was that people would read just nothing. It was just symbols one after the other. And it was just the aesthetic value of it. So, you know, my tutor who, like my tutor was Juliet. So she was like, okay, but do you really define that as literature because it doesn't have content? And I'm like, you're very right, Juliet. What the fuck am I doing? So I tried going to another, you know, it was a lot of this, of me, it's like going from artwork to artwork, not really knowing. I would have to define literature as something before I could tackle it. So I was like, you know what? This is impossible and not really worth my effort. Like it's too much effort for the thing that I have to do. So I try to find a more simple, but then again, that's my strategy always. Every time we have to present an assignment, I do this crazy idea. My professors are like this, and then they have to tell me, Javier, we thank you for you're very passionate about it. Yeah, which is another way of saying, please don't do it. And they always tell me, find something simpler, and I do. So this in this case was the same thing. I went from literature to just focusing on one artist, Larissa Sansur, and science fiction within it. In the end, I ended up talking about literature because I mentioned a lot of like science fiction writers and authors, but at least it was elegantly put in a simple theme.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, Christy.
I was very confused about what I wanted to write. I just chose that I wanted to write about the fourth plinth because it was close to where I lived.
Okay. Yeah.
As you can see, passion.
Passion. And I mean, like, I still haven't handed in my dissertation thesis yet, because I'm just like, what? So I'm still kind of working on it, but I don't think I'm going to change my topic though. Like, I think I know.
I think it's a good topic.
Yeah, it's great. It's a really fun topic. And
by the way, what's our fourth plinth episode?
Yes, it's all about me and my passion.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was kind of how I came up with the idea, just because it was really close.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's so hard if someone goes like, you have to write a long 15,000 word essay. I was like, it's not 10, 15,000 word essay, and they're like, it can be on anything.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? I have to find something that is not, like Javier said, overly complicated, because this isn't like a PhD. It needs to fit within these few, within 15,000 words, which it feels like a lot. But then as I was writing, I was realizing all the stuff I wanted to ultimately add would not fit in it. And I had to sort of focus on less, but make it better, rather than try and fit in all these things. I said, when I gave him that proposal, it's going to be about pregnancy. And it was because I throughout my life have seen and re-seen that Demi Moore cover where she's on Vanity Fair, and I'm always like, I don't know why, I really like that cover. And I mentioned it in my proposal, and they said, that's not art. And I was like, well, like, isn't it? Like, what is art? And I was like, it's by Annie Leibovitz, so I feel maybe it's a bit too commercial. But I was just like, I want it to be about that. I want it to be about pregnancy. I find pregnancy quite cool. I'm a bit scared of it, but I'd like to sort of explore how it's been viewed in art, because it's very rarely portrayed. So I was like, okay, great. And then I was like, okay, it needs to be probably, let's start with, and I had remembered that there was this Chris O'Philly, we should do an episode about him, a Chris O'Philly work called The Holy Virgin Mary, and it's an artwork that caused loads of controversy in the 90s because it was the Virgin Mary but black, and there was also elephant dung stuck to the painting, and there was like nudity, whatever. And as I was writing about it, I was like, wait, she's not pregnant. And I was like, wait, I've messed up. So then I made it about motherhood generally. So as I was writing, like things changed, and then I decided I'll focus just on the 90s. And then I was like, I'll make it one paragraph, one chapter about America, one about South Africa. And then I was like, and what's the third one going to be on? Because I wanted like a sort of racially contentious country, because that, like, the context is so important. I never found a third. I just did it 2 big chapters, called it a day. And ultimately I found I really, really enjoyed writing it. Like, that was almost one of my favorite things this year. I found, like, sitting down every day knowing I'm going to write like 300 words, so relaxing, then doing the research, writing a few hundred words, like rereading the one from the day before. Like, for me, I found the knowing I have something to do every day really, really like nice and relaxing, and I do enjoy writing. But it is like it's long.
Yeah,
it is long.
Very long.
It took. I started in June, and I ended it in October.
I think it took me a month to write the whole thing, and then a lot of time to reread it, edit it, and all that. But I think it was a month till I finished it. And I remember that feeling at the beginning of how the fuck am I gonna make it to? I think the minimum was 1,200.
so
Yeah,
1,200, 500 words, something like that. And I did 3 works, so 1 chapter per work, and I was like writing like whenever I was in a chapter, I was like, I have to stretch it somehow. It's not gonna be enough. I need to find more works, whatever. But by the end of it, the funny thing is that I ended up having so many ideas and linking what I was like what I found in the work to so many sci-fi authors and books or whatever, that at some point I had to like cut it down so much, because I was having like maybe 6,000 words per chapter, and I was like, God, this is too much. So for me, it's always the same with these things. I always start thinking I'm gonna have to fill so much space to get to the word limit, because there's not enough to say, and then you start saying it, and you're like, I need a bigger word limit to do this. I need to cut it down.
But then I also think I didn't realize how long the last bit of rereading, rechecking, like making sure things are factual, the right date, like worded nicely, that I didn't use, that I used like is not and not isn't, or like every little thing that you have to go through. At the end, in my mind, I was like, I'll be done in a week. and it took me. I took like the longest break I took that in the whole period was like maybe 2.5 weeks off, where I just didn't look at it. And it's the last bit takes so fucking long. The making sure the bibliography is in the right style.
Yeah.
All the little things that they also ask about format, because that was like, what the fuck is a list of illustrations? Like, I've never done that.
I hate
How
it.
do you do them in Word? Like, I did it in a really archaic way because I tried to do it with a little thing that helps you do them.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to add the info, so it was a bit.
I think I did it in the most archaic way ever. I just put them one after the other, and that's basically it. Because I didn't know what exactly.
So who uses that? Who goes to the list of illustrations and then actually uses it?
But clearly someone.
No, so I was done with that. I was like, I'm going to do it really basic because I can't be bothered to do this anymore.
That one of the previous dissertations that they, had online, and I was like, okay, it looks like this, so I'll do it like that as well. The list of illustrations.
Then where do you actually put the pictures?
Oh, I have 2 lists of illustrations even. So I have the first one
Yeah.
in front of the text, which just says all the pictures, and then at the end,
Oh.
I have the list of illustrations with all the images in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that
Cool.
first, yeah.
And then I got really stressed out when I started reading that they were asking you for like they gave you like the size of the margin they wanted. I was like, I never had this before in an assignment, and I was like looking at like it has to be 2.4, and I was going through Word like, oh, every page has to be 2.4 and all that.
I didn't.
It takes so long time.
I doubt they'll check that and be like, oh, you failed.
No one's going to check. And also, I mean, they have the document obviously, so I guess they can check word count.
Yeah.
But in my BA, when we had a word count and it was over, I would just write a number under.
Yeah.
And then no one would ever say anything.
Me, Christy and I, we did that for the project. I think we were definitely with over 2,000 words.
Over 2,000 words.
2,000 is loads. Like, I was talking like 300 words.
It had to be 3,000 words or something, but we were way over it. I think we were
Yeah.
like 5,000 and something. So I just wrote down like 2,998 or something,
Yeah.
and they were fine. And
I
Julia,
can't believe that, because that's a lot. That's like almost double.
You wouldn't even like write like 3,550 or something, like a bit
No.
over. You would be like 5,000.
and Juliet was like, "Wow, this is such a great proposal."
Wow, it's like it's so long yet so short. You're like, I know, right?
I know, so detailed. Yeah.
We did it in like the day before. Hooray! Yeah, wow.
You say so much with such little. I know.
Many words.
Yeah.
That's an important thing, is that and I'm sure all masters do this, you have to work in groups.
Oh,
Thank God we only had to do it once.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
It's
only have to do it
painful.
once.
Thank Jesus Christ, our
But I
Savior.
Other than that one experience, I'm sure for other people it was fine. For me, it was absolutely horrific. Like, I remember like crying like on 2 occasions when I came back from work.
I mean-
Besides that, I know I hated that whole project, but besides that, the whole year was amazing.
Yes.
I mean, in my group, we had some hiccups, but in the end,
It was okay.
I enjoyed the process. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I don't think I
There's
enjoyed.
something going on, but it was.
No, I did not enjoy.
I didn't enjoy it, and my group wasn't terrible. It was just that, well, this one member. Okay, we had this one member who was just a walking meme. Like she wrote I think it was the economics part of the assignment. So my group's project was this website for artists and creators and stuff like that. And she wrote the whole like balance sheet and like how we would get finance and all that. And I remember I was editing the final product and I was rereading it, and I still have no idea what she said. It was like maybe 3 pages of nonsense, like sentences like, so we would get a big budget, like very big. I was like,
like Trump does it. We just have a big budget.
yeah, we get a big budget from many investors.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a bit stressful. But we did wear costumes to the presentation, which was very funny.
Yeah.
And I had Christmas lights wrapped around me, which was fun. And it was good in the end. I think that bad as as bad as it could be, it wasn't that horrible.
It was a annoying experience, but then it's somewhat nice to think back and laugh about.
I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
I would not.
no.
You're
not,
like,
for, not,
no.
not for Mara, but
I've played
for
John
Mara,
Murder
yeah.
since then,
Yeah.
but I'm fine. I'm over it. But I do think about murder quite often.
Watch the show How to Get Away with Murder. Maybe give you some.
Maybe you
Oh, I love
can,
that series.
Some pointers.
Isn't that horror?
No,
Uh,
not really. But anyway, would you do another masters again?
No.
mm,
No, I've done one.
I
That's
actually
fucking
think I wouldn't mind if it was something very different, something to broaden a bit, because I'm a bit fed up with art and
It's okay.
like. But yeah, I already did a BA where we studied most of the things we touched upon, the theoretical framework of what we did in Sotheby's, sociology and psychoanalysis, and all that. I already went through it in my BA, so it was kind of like going through it again, and it's a bit of if I did an MA again, it would be to broaden my like knowledge, not to dive deeper into the artwork already. But I wouldn't say no to another masters. Nah, I wouldn't.
I feel like I'm ready to start working. Like
Well, yeah, me too.
I'm ready to. I know it can't happen, but
yeah, that's a
I'm
problem.
ready to get it started. I just want to start my life. Like I don't want to be studying forever. I've really enjoyed it, but like I've done it now.
Yeah.
Move on. But I also think an important thing that I said at the beginning was don't get a job whilst you do this masters.
While
Misty and I both, I don't know what Finn really does. I feel like he invests in stuff. I don't really know.
he invests in Wall Street. That's what
I don't really know, but he does businessy stuff. But Christy and I both worked throughout the MA. Yeah, would you
No.
recommend it? No.
I didn't mind, but then again, I do businessy stuff, so that
Yeah,
doesn't...
you just sit behind the
You just
computer
did
and
it
you can,
anyway.
invest. I actually really don't know, but that's how I envision you at night. You're in your fancy apartment, and you're invest.
Just look at your phone.
like grabs of stuff.
Like I need to move funds, move from account A to account B. I'm investing.
Or he'd be like Bitcoin. Let me see which coin.
Bitcoin, yeah.
I think Finn has Bitcoins for sure.
Yeah, I think he has Bitcoin.
I do invest, but I don't have Bitcoins. But no, I
invest in crypto.
I think you do have, but you don't want to say.
Yeah.
I worked whilst I was at uni. It was absolutely the most glamorous job I've ever had as a shop assistant, and I worked maybe 3 days a week, like 2 or 3 days, and I got really stressed out, especially when we had the project, because it was so much work and so much stress when you have to. I personally I hate delegating work. Like I like to do everything myself because I know that I'm going to do it the best, or in my mind at least it will be I know I can sleep easy at night knowing I did it and it's not someone else.
Right.
And I found the project hard because of that, and because everything's last minute and I like to do everything in advance. Working whilst that was happening was really stressful. Everyone knows about my rash that I got because of stress. And I wouldn't recommend getting a part-time job whilst you're studying unless you really have to. And even if you do, maybe something that's 1 day a week, because I just felt like I had to sacrifice hours I could have spent at doing work for uni, working at an 8-hour shift. So I understand now why they said don't.
I mean, my job was different because I was a freelance editor for photography and video. So I would have people reach out and say I need these photos edited, and so I don't have to leave my.
Yeah, and you can make your own
Yeah,
like
I can make my own
hours
hours,
and
but
stuff.
even it was stressful to because it's just another thing on your mind, and I feel like in a master's you're so engulfed in doing that master's that it's sometimes you forget that you have a lot
Other
that they
responsibilities.
have other
Yeah.
responsibilities, like taking care of plants or whatever, or taking care of yourself.
I
Um,
love the taking care of plants is number one.
Yeah, taking care of yourself is completely secondary. Yeah.
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 Once the plants are safe, you can start worrying about it.
and you can do self care, but um,
But I agree with that. Like I found the masters gave me this year, I had more free days than I did when I was doing an undergrad. And when I did an undergrad for the whole 3 years, I was painting leather jackets for people. And I found it's the making your own hours that really helped me out because I'm not a morning person. So when it was like go to the lecture, do all that stuff, and then paint into the night, and then go to bed, and like you can fit it into your life, and there is not that like traveling to the place, traveling back. So I really saw the merit in like doing freelance, like working for yourself or whatever. I would have liked not to work, but I really like the money.
Yeah.
This master's was private.
yeah.
Yes.
I think that's a very important thing to say because I don't know what Finn's was before, but I don't know what.
Comment on that though. I mean, education in Belgium is really, really cheap. It's only for every course. So whatever you want to do, BA, MA, it's 898 euros a year.
What? It's like 10 times that in the UK.
And I have to say that the quality of education, there's no difference at
Yeah.
all. So that made me really aware of it's just not fair.
Might go to Belgium.
Well, yeah, welcome to capitalism.
Yeah.
What
So
do you
just
mean?
go and study in Belgium.
What is Belgium not capitalist? Have you
No,
got become a communist state?
what I mean is that not like the knowledge is not something that you have to pay much for nowadays, but there's things like prestige and like tradition, all that take into account when it comes to how much you pay to learn something somewhere.
Well, I think
I don't
the
th- I don't think we know more about contemporary art that someone can learn through other means.
well, the only thing is that I could not find another contemporary art course. I think there was one at like Goldsmiths or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's maybe like I think what we were also paying for was getting the insight of how an auction house worked, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was
plus
the
And
plus
networks.
little thing we were getting. And we also, I think, were paying for the like because we went on a few trips.
yeah,
Also
and plus
networking.
you get the experience of like sitting
Yeah.
in the classroom and talking to the people and
Yeah,
having the
you pay.
professor and all that.
We got like it was obviously a really I not that I've ever made the amount that the course cost, but it felt like I got my money's worth. My dad would probably say no, but I got the money's worth.
Yeah.
I before in the undergrad, an undergrad's like £9,500 here.
Yeah.
I got a student loan for that. I'm just in debt, but it's fine. And I found that when I was talking to my best friend who was studying in Leiden, she was like, I'm paying like £500 or something. I was like, what? Like, what am I doing here? Like, this is so much money. And where, essentially all I'm doing is a course that I could do somewhere else. The only thing was I didn't want to leave London. That was the only thing. And I'm sure like if I had moved abroad, maybe it wouldn't have cost like £9,900, but the cost of like being there, money,
Yeah.
rent, all of that would obviously be like a substantial amount, whereas I was living for free at home. But it's still a lot.
It's a lot of money.
But you can get a loan of like £10,000, which is how much a master's is in the UK, or full private courses, so it covers a bit of it.
But that's also only for British people.
Yeah, sorry, that's only for That's only for my kind, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's just important to know, because at Sotheby's you could not do that until last year. And I think that would have affected my decision personally, because that's like a lot of money to
Be in debt with.
be in debt to the government.
All in all, we're happy with our experiences.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was gonna ask, would we recommend? Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I would recommend the uni in particular, and I think if you have the like desire to get knowledge, and you know you've wanted to do a master's, or you want to be maybe like have that little bit extra than people you've done your undergrad with, then definitely
you flourish.
it's a nice, I think you flourish. Like, it's a nice environment to do all these things in. And many, if you do history of art and probably other things, but history of art, even on the, you know, on a regular course, you do usually do a trip abroad. And that's just nice. It's like camaraderie. Like, you make good friends. Like, I mean, you literally are with these people like every day. I like that Finn was like, they gave us a 2.5-hour lunch, like we were going to the library, but we weren't. We were talking.
We're just sitting in the cafeteria chatting. Yeah.
Talking for like 2.5 hours. Oh, look at that, lecture time.
We're like, oh, we have to go now. We didn't do any work.
We just ate and sat.
Yeah. Ate, sat, and bitched.
Yeah, that's all we did. So we didn't flourish as much as other people who were super, super, super keen, but we still flourished.
Well, I mean, now we have a podcast, and
yeah, I mean,
we enjoy life, so
we're making so much money from it.
Whoa.
you wouldn't believe it. But
I bought my first house.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But what I mean is that, like, I don't think I would have and found people to start a podcast with in the field of contemporary art. I mean, were it not for Sotheby's and finding new people.
Oh. I love you.
Love you too.
Yeah. But it's because, you know, when I went to when I was in high school, I remember thinking I am surrounded by idiots. When I got to uni, I thought, wow, these people are like more like me, but still I can see a lot of differences, and it felt like a bigger high school with not as much idiot people. And then when I got to Sotheby's, I was like, this is my vibe of people. Like, in the term, it's
but I love them.
Like, I don't mean in the sense of like you're gonna feel like what's the word? Like, you don't feel like you're not, like, all of you think the same, but you do feel like you can talk about all the things you want to talk about, and people know what you're referring to, and they bring into the conversation. Yeah, it's not like
neat, because everyone, like, we're all interested in the same thing, but like specifically.
So, like, if you do a presentation in one of our classrooms and you're talking about whatever, even if it, like Finn said, you would find your own topic. But even if you found something that no one had, like, thought about, or no art, like an artist no one else has heard about or anything, we all had things to say about it, and it was a good conversation to have. It wasn't like, oh well, I guess it's good because I don't really know what you're talking about, which was my feeling in some courses in my BA, and of course in high school, where like
also for like, so like we often do disagree, and then we'll be like, but it's not like disagreeing and wanting to start something. It's like, I don't agree, this is how I see it, and then we try and show, you know, try different perspectives and all of that, and then we just let that, you know, that's the end of the conversation. You know, we've discussed what we thought, and it's like, I don't have other friends where I don't have other friends who really like art, so that's the first problem. But then there's no like, hey, you've said you're interested in this, I actually have a really good recommendation for another artist, or like a book, or I'm not recommending film personally, but another film, and you're there like recommending stuff, but like genuinely, not like
as a joke.
I know more about this than you. There are those kinds of people, but I think you find people that you can have conversation with that is a lot more like slightly academic, but not show offy. Just
I didn't get show offy vibes by anyone, I think, in our masters. I mean,
Well,
okay, some, but it wasn't like one of the things I was scared of when I got into Sotheby's was that this would be like a shit show of people trying to prove that they
Show
were
off,
the
yeah.
biggest like art nerds and they know everything about Mark Quinn and they're good friends with Damien Hirst or whatever.
to be fair,
And
people like that, of course. But I mean,
well, yeah, I mean, you always get one or two people who are just there to show off. But my point is that it wasn't an atmosphere, it wasn't a toxic atmosphere where we were like competing with each other and being constantly like, oh, I'm better than you. I've actually done more projects than you, whatever. It was more like a big family.
well, we did have a little feud in Venice, but you know,
But that's about it.
that's about.
Yeah.
That's okay.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
Did we have a feud in Venice? Did
Well,
we invite
just like
me?
a little feud with pizza is involved, and
Oh.
What?
Oh yeah. Well,
Stupid. What are we talking about?
it will come to you.
Wait, it's not coming to me. What are we talking about?
it
Oh,
quite will.
okay, it came to me. Well, you're with people for 4 days, okay? I know I need, when I hang out with someone or people, I need like twice that amount of alone time
Yeah.
to process the social aspect of it and be
Yep.
alone and fucking chill and not have to speak to people. Well, I think when you're together for like 4 days, I start to hate people, and I'm like,
Wow.
that person breathing is so annoying.
Okay.
But because
but
I'm so sweet and nice, I keep it together. I don't try and start anything.
But I do, going back to your point, Javier, I do agree with in my BA, I found people that were more, like-minded, but I still felt like, okay, it matches, but there's not really a space to go deeper into topics or to go deeper into the friendship.
Yeah.
But now in this year, it really changed a lot because people were just there because they're very interested, and you have the main interest in contemporary art, but it can evolve into so many other things, and people were there to talk about it together, and it was really great.
Yeah. Like,
And not all people, but like genuine people.
but class conversations generally were very interesting because of this. Like everyone had something to add, and it
Yeah.
wasn't like someone giving a monologue and everyone else like,
Well, you gave a lot of monologues, but
Yeah.
well,
He's like, no one gave a monologue.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Apart from me.
Okay.
excuse me, I didn't give monologues in class. It was in the tutorial where I was supposed to talk. Also, a great thing about the being close to professors is that you can get into like dynamics like roasting you, which was very fun
Oh yeah,
with
that was
me. And
fun.
yeah, one of the memes in our year was that this Professor Juliet would roast me every trip we went to, and she did deliver, and it was beautiful every time.
I think some people
Spot
are
on.
more,
Okay.
All right.
I have to say, my conclusion is that this was the best year that I had in academics.
yeah, same.
Mine too.
It was
Honestly,
my funnest year.
Same.
Yeah.
mine too.
It was my funnest year, and I felt more I could be like the most me than I've been in the past
Mhm.
years at uni, where I felt like ugh, I need to put on a personality to try and have a conversation with these people. Whereas here I was just like, well, I don't even care. Like they love me or they don't love me, and then that's it. Like that you're with people so often. Like it's not like undergrad where you're like, oh, I've seen this person. I mean, as I said, I didn't even recognize this guy I went on a date with who was in my class 3 years.
Yeah.
I just felt like I was sitting in a class with these people, and then I got up at the end and went to the next thing or went home, and that was it. Whereas here it's like you spend so many hours together. You do a lecture, you find the seat you like to be in, you then go for a 2.5-hour lunch where you just talk and bitch at each other, and then you go again to another lecture. Like it's sort of never ending. Then I'm like, let's go to the pub, and it's just like a much longer day where you spend more and more time with people and you know them so much better. And I felt like within the first month when we'd gone to Venice, like literally after, I think it was literally after a month or like 6
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah.
I felt like, oh, I feel like I've known these people for so long, but we hadn't known each other for long at all.
To me, going to uni felt like going to a job because I just had to go there, do something, and that was it. And then I would go back and meet friends somewhere else. But Sotheby's felt like Hogwarts because you were like going there every day with all your friends, and every day was an adventure, something new happened. It was fun.
Okay, that's
I
Doing
like that
things.
Sotheby's and Hogwarts.
Yeah. Plus, it's an old house, so you can get wizard vibes.
Conclusion: Sotheby's is Hogwarts, and you will become
Yeah.
magic of art.
Thank you for listening to Chart. Thank you.
Yay!
Whoa!
Bravo!
Thank you so much for listening. Please, listen to some other episodes we've done before. We have some interesting topics if you want to learn more about art.
Oh,
Yes.
we don't. We also have some.
Join us for next week where we talk about something we don't know yet.
Yeah.
We also post hilarious memes on our Instagram
Yes.
account, so
Our
Please
Instagram as well.
follow it.
DM us anything you want us to talk about.
Yeah.
Or
Or
if you have like a problem in your life unrelated to art and you'd like
We,
advice,
we can help.
we can help. We have
Slide into our DMs.
We
mean-
might just be the solution for your biggest problems.
between us, we have almost 100 years of experience being alive.
True.
So we could help you. Just DM us your problems. If you're fighting with your boyfriend, if your mom's being super annoying, your friend has stabbed you in the back,
Like literally.
And
We can
if
help.
If your plant is dying,
your plant's dying, also message us.
Hmm.
Finn knows about plants. Christy's a new plant mum. I have a plant. It's being babysat at the moment. I don't know.
I don't have plants, but I can name it if you don't have a name for your plant.
Yeah, we can name your plant. Show us a picture. Love you.
Love you.
love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Hope you enjoyed listening to this episode as much as we enjoyed making it. If you especially loved our episode, we would love it if you gave it a 5-star rating and a review, and even consider taking a screenshot of this episode and posting it on your Instagram stories. That way we know that you loved it and other people can find our podcast as well. If you're not subscribed yet, again, what are you doing? Subscribe and get notified every time we publish a new episode. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Chart Podcast, and if you want to see our faces while we talk, find us on YouTube at Chart Podcast as well. We are Chart, and we'll hope we'll meet you again at some point in the near future. Take care. Chart out.
Love you.
See you.
Love
See you later.
Bye. Bye.